Hello, everybody. We've made it to the last week of our 6-week summer session. It's gone by quickly. There's been lots of experiences, and some of you have experienced some challenges. So as we get through to this final, everybody sort of has completed chapters 6 and 8, the body composition and weight management. When we get through chapter 6 and 8, oftentimes people say to me, I don't want to lose weight. I don't have any problems. And that's fabulous. And so the challenge, though, will be how is it that I want to maintain my current percent body fat? Because we really don't so much care about how much you weigh. I don't even care so much about your BMI. What's really important is how much body fat you have. And so in taking a look at that and trying to optimize those things, we would do that through nutrition and exercise. And so from that standpoint, that's what we would do, and that's what we've done in chapters 6 and 8. As we come through now, and it's Sunday, and you're the 24th, and your final project is due at noon on the 27th, what we're trying to do now is I just want to go over this with you so that you have a clear idea of what happens. So first and foremost, many people type this up in a word processing program, save it as a PDF, and connect it. Others of you have done a really great job of saving all of your PDFs and merging them and putting them all together into one document. Others have done sort of Google Share, and I've had some people do some really incredible things with Google Slides. And however you want to present it is up to you, just as long as everything's included. And so that can be part of your creativity. One of the things that's really important about this final exam is that it's not an exam at all, but rather a life plan. Our hope and dream with this concepts of physical wellness classes is that you will take into account all the different areas of wellness and then sort of take a deep reflective time to consider what areas do I need to improve and how can I do so. In doing so, that will allow for you to optimize your general life overall functioning. You'll learn better. You'll be a better worker, a better child, a better parent, a better sibling. So that's the premise with the concept of wellness. So the very first part that you'll take a look at is part A, and you'll literally choose 2 of those components of wellness. It's a wellness plan. You'll choose 2 of those components. You cannot do physical because that one is where you'll do more work later. But you'll choose 2 of those components, and then you'll literally write 3 goals for improvement in that area and 3 objectives underneath each goal. We've worked painfully for some of us on writing SMART goals. So the SMART goal theory, right, is that you make goals that follow that acronym, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So in doing so, you will use that acronym as we have in every chapter. We initiated it in chapter 1 and followed through in every chapter so far. You'll go through and you'll write down those types of things for only 2 of the components of wellness. So keeping that in mind, you might note that the cultural and occupational wellness are 2 areas that your textbook did not talk about in great detail, but yet is very, very common in all the other textbooks and places. So consider those as something valuable and important. Here's an example of what you want to do. So here's the different components. Please don't copy this. I've had many, many students who go ahead and just copy this. If I want to improve my environmental wellness, then my goals would be, number 1, decrease my family's carbon footprint. What does that mean? So anything that's less than or equal to 1 mile, that means that we walk. That means we walk to the grocery store, we walk to the library, we walk to church, and we do some very careful planning around that. Very, very interesting. We purchase all reusable cleaning cloths, shopping bags, and water bottles. We don't throw anything out on a day-to-day basis. And then we properly recycle any household items that we're getting rid of. Okay, and then you can read the rest of these. And so that's something that we implemented. So then the next thing is, that's part A. Very simple. You will literally have something that looks like this for 2 components. Okay. Then part B is your fitness program. We've worked on this pretty stringently, and I've tried to help a bunch of people maximize and optimize their fitness programs. I realize that not everyone belongs to a gym, nor do you have to. I realize that not everybody has a lot of time, but when we stop and think about how we use our time from our stress management chapter, you'll note that probably we could carve out some time to allow for us to be more physical. And so you'll have the 4 components of fitness, and they include cardiovascular fitness, muscular strength and endurance, flexibility, and body composition. So the cardiovascular fitness is the one where I made sure that each and every one of you had to figure out your target heart rate zone. If you made an error in that calculation, I gave you suggestions and fixed it and reworked it in many cases. So for the cardiovascular fitness, you need to make sure that you have a target heart rate zone. If we're not working out in our target heart rate zone, it's considered activities of daily living. And while they're very important, they don't target your body's response to exercise. So then we follow your fitness evaluation. Many of you did all the fitness evaluations, the 3-minute step test, the walk run. And so from that standpoint, I will tell you that if you were able to do the 1.5 mile walk run test, then that's the assessment that you use. Remember, it's carefully choosing the right assessment to determine what the best results are for you. And so again, we had some errors in determining that, but that's okay. We fixed it. Based off of that, you will now do your FITTE, which is the FIT principles, and those are associated with exercise prescription rules. And so please understand that this is an acronym, and we'll start with F standing for frequency, I is intensity, T is type, the first T is time, the second T is type, and the E, which many of you have omitted, I think because maybe you thought it was an error on my part, but that is the enjoyment factor. Here at the college, we believe that if it's fun, it gets done. And if you're not enjoying your physical activity, then the chances of you participating in it again and again and making it a lifestyle is slim to none. So please understand that the FIT principles, while the definition remains the same for each one of the components of fitness, the thing is that they're not all defined the same, which you have learned. So when we talk about cardiovascular fitness, you must indeed have a program that is at least 15 minutes in duration. Remember, in order for an activity to be considered cardiovascular, it must meet the definition of large muscle groups moving in a rhythmic fashion in a target heart rate zone for a specified time period. So you want to make sure that your program is doing that. Now, if your goal, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute, if your goal is not aligned with your FIT principles, this is where you'll have a point deduction. So I want to talk about that in a minute. The next thing is that when we talk about muscular strength and endurance, some people want both. That's fine. That can be achieved. What I found in some of your resistance training programs is that some of you were doing 2 exercises. And while that's a good start, the thing is that I also provided an outline form for a well-rounded overall workout. You can do that resistance training workout in an hour, probably to start, as you're learning the exercises and you're paying close attention and listening to your body. But it will really work out to be around 50 minutes if you follow the principles of moving and getting things done. So again, what's really important is to use your textbook and follow along with what are my true goals? What is it that I want to do with this? If I want an overall conditioning program, the sets, repetitions, resistance, and rest are very different than if I want to do a bodybuilding program. For many of you who are just doing resistance training for the first time and you're doing body weight exercises, that's fabulous. That's great. But you would want to do the overall fitness program, and you don't need to do 3 sets of 10 and have a 2-minute rest in between each set, because that's a huge time suck that you may or may not have. And then your problem becomes, I can't do it because I don't have enough time. So be very clear about what it is that you want to do with this program. Please understand that we've had some challenges, and I've sent lots of messages to people as I was grading your programs that 3 sets of 10 is sort of the old school generic way of doing things. 3 sets of 10 were designed from the old Venice Beach, where the first set was a warm-up set. The second set was a dynamic, like, hey, joints, here I come. We're getting ready to go. So now you've got your blood flowing, the joints are woken up. And then the third set was the actual exercise set. So if you're doing a 3 sets of 10 and you're not adjusting the resistance between there, then you're sort of not following the traditional 3 sets of 10 programming. And so you may not be getting the maximum results. And again, that's what my goal is here. If you do more than 30 repetitions of one exercise, then we say that your resistance is not enough. So some of you were doing 4 sets of 15. And so I was like, whoa, you'd be better off backing that down. One of the things is that when you get into a cardiovascular zone and you're in your target zone, you feel like you can go forever. And that feels great. Usually starting, you feel like a little, and then when you get moving, you feel great. The resistance part of it is not the same. Resistance training hurts and it is uncomfortable. And so when you get to the point of momentary fatigue, which is what we talk about, as that portion of time, when you get to the point of momentary fatigue and resistance training and your muscles are shaking and you're thanking whoever your higher being is that you don't have to do another one, then that was correct. So you want to be careful about that. All right. The same is goes with sort of the next step of your flexibility. So as I'm working towards my flexibility, I want to pay close attention to what are my real goals. So do I love to exercise on my own? Do I want to take a yoga class? Am I trying to do that? Please note that yoga, while it will improve your flexibility, it isn't specifically designed for that. We here in the West have sort of killed the premise of yoga. Yoga is designed to put your body into different poses so that you can open up your chakras and your chi can flow free. That whole goal is the mind-body connection. It's the rhythmic breathing. It's the holding the poses. And so while that's fabulous, general stretching, taking your stretch, holding it for 30 seconds, relaxing is the way that you want to go, okay? And that's often included in your cool down. So now when we get to body composition, and I'm going to start to talk faster because I think I'm going to run out of time, but when we get to body composition, this thing right here, you're going to determine what your percent fat was, and maybe you came to me, some people did come to me for their skin fold measurements, and we could get that exact, and others of you didn't. That's okay, you'll be using your BMI. Whatever is your goal here. That's what then you want to take into consideration. Because if you're trying to change your body composition to decrease fat, then you need to make sure that you're doing cardiovascular exercise at the low end of your target heart rate zone for at least 4 times a week. Okay, that's a tricky thing that people miss out on. The other thing is that don't negate the benefits of resistance training. People say, oh, I don't want to do resistance training until I lose the weight. No, do resistance training because while you build up muscle, your body becomes more metabolically active and you're like an inferno by doing both resistance training and cardiovascular. It's amazing. It's well worth it. Body composition, you want to increase muscle mass, then boom, what you need to do is muscular strength, correct? So that's how that feeds into it. Each and every one of these categories will be broken down. You'll have cardiovascular fitness as a heading. You'll have your target heart rate zone. You'll have your metabolic or your medical history. No limitations. I have nothing. I don't have a back problem. I don't have a knee problem. I have nothing. No medical history, cardiovascular, and no physical limitations. My current fitness level was determined by the 1.5 mile run, the 3-minute step test, and it was considered excellent. My goals for this area is to maintain this and move beyond this. Many of you want to run a mile in 4 minutes or do something in that area. So then you design your specific program. You put your specific programs up there and you've done that. So that's what you would do. You would then go to muscular strength and endurance and go through the same process. Okay, I'll make a second video to talk about the nutrition and stress management plan.